Hey guys, what's up? So over years of learning English, I've learned a handful of lessons that I really wish I knew earlier. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the 5 lessons that I've learned from my own experience of learning English. So let's get straight into it. Lesson number 1, the importance of thinking in English. So basically, what happens here is that the more you think in English, the higher your ability to speak English gets raised. And the less you think in English, the lower your ability to speak English gets. For example, if you think in English all the time about your plans, like, I'm going to go to the gym. I might call my mom later. Oh, the exam starts at 9. I'll be there by noon. Then in real life, when you want to talk about your plans in English, you can easily and comfortably talk about what you're gonna do without hesitation and without thinking of what kind of grammar should you use. You won't be like, should I use I'm going to or will? Should I conjugate the verb after will? No, you won't be like that because you think in English. You're not thinking in your native language and translating in your head. Now, based on this reality, you can do 3 things to think in English. 1, describe what you're doing. It could be as simple as, I'm washing the dishes, I'm talking to my sister, I'm cooking dinner. And 2, talk about your plans and the future. Like, I'm going to take the bus to work, or it looks like it's going to rain. And 3, talk about past. Like, I went to the gym yesterday, I didn't work out because it was so crowded. This helps you to get comfortable talking about the present, the future, and the past. So as you do this all the time, your ability to think in English is here, so your ability to speak in English is here. Lesson number 2, the importance of living in English. Back in the day, let's say 10 months of me learning English, my plan was to study English for an hour every day or every other day. So I was thinking in terms of studying. I was like, cool, I studied for an hour, now I can do something else. The big level up that I had into my English learning journey was that when I started thinking in terms of living in English, I wouldn't just study English for an hour and live it there completely. I surrounded myself by the English language. Like when I wanted to watch a movie to entertain myself, I would watch an English movie. Or when I wanted to read a book, I would go for an English book. Or when I wanted to research something, I would research it in English. I incorporated English in my life so much so that it became part of my routine. And I really wish I knew it before because I wasted so much time on learning English and not getting the result that I really wanted. So instead of thinking, I'm going to study English for an hour today, I'm going to study English for an hour tomorrow, think, how can I build the consistency that would make the process of learning English more effective? It might involve, I'm going to write my to-do list in English. It might involve, I'm going to watch a tutorial YouTube video in English. The beauty of learning English is that you can do any activity that you enjoy in English and learn English. The point is, by being consistent in English and by living in English, you start to benefit from it. Like, you have no choice but to use it. Lesson number 3, there's a difference between input and output. You know, in my English learning journey, I struggled a lot with speaking. I was always like, why I understand English, but I can't speak English? So what I wish someone had told me when I was learning English is that there are 2 systems, input and output. Firstly, input. Input are the things that we read as well as the things that we listen to. So listening and reading are input. Outputs are writing and speaking when we produce the language. Now, when we learn English, we think all we need is to study English. So we go and buy a bunch of grammar books and vocabulary books and keep studying them, and sometimes listen to something in English. And we suspect now we have the knowledge to speak English. But after a while, we realize that, oh my God, I can't speak English although I've studied it. And then we're like, why I understand English but I can't speak it? This is because we consumed lots of input and we forgot about the output. If you want to speak English, you have to work on the output. You have to produce it. And this is something that I really wish someone had told me that before, because for a very long time, I'd been struggling to improve my speaking English skill, but I didn't know what was the right thing to do. If I knew that earlier, I would have been able to speak English like within 5 months of learning English. So output is so freaking important when it comes to learning and speaking English. So as you're learning English, try to produce the English language yourself. Make speaking and writing part of your learning routine as much as possible so that you will never find yourself into this vicious cycle of learning English but never truly becoming fluent in it. Lesson number 4, no one cares. A few years ago when I first started speaking English, I was so worried what other people might think of my English. I had the fear of speaking English and making mistakes. You tell us, Katie, what's your opinion on this? Me? No. Oh my god. What should I say now? No. Don't say anything. If you speak, you'll make mistakes. Then they're gonna think you're stupid. But then I realized that no one cares. People are so busy with their lives and their own thoughts, and they doing their own stuffs that they don't give a flying toss whether or not I'm making mistakes. People in real life speak and communicate in English to make a point, to express themselves, their thoughts, and their feeling, not to test your English. Testing your English is something that only the IELTS examiner would do. So many people don't want to speak English and get held back by the worry that if they speak and make mistakes, the other person on the other side would judge them. Well, first of all, no one cares. I promise you, I'm talking from my experience. No one cares. It's all into your head. And second, if you want to improve your speaking and get to the point where you can speak English perfectly well, improving your speaking without making mistakes is impossible. You have to speak and make mistakes. You have to start off by making mistakes. Over time, by making mistakes repeatedly, you will eventually be good at speaking. And then at some point, you'll become fluent in English and your life will be all good. And this is something that I really wish someone had told me that, because I was so afraid of speaking English and making mistakes. But I overcame that. Lesson number 5, speaking English with someone to improve your speaking doesn't really matter. I learned to speak English alone at home. I mean, all by myself. I'm not gonna lie, I was like, I wish I had someone to practice and speak English with. I used to think I have to speak English with someone to improve my speaking. But then I realized that I can do it all by myself, and I made it. If you want to know how I did it, I have a video on that. You can click on this video. So that was the 5 lessons that I've learned, and I really wish someone had told me that before. I hope it was helpful and you learned something new. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.